His name. Amen.
Amen. All right, clerk will take the roll.
Supervisor Ledke.
Here.
Supervisor Milliburn.
Here.
Supervisor Parker.
Here.
Supervisor Olson.
Here.
Supervisor Searing. Here.
Order of business to approve the agenda with any changes or corrections. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meet the deputy. All right, bring him on up here.
Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Douglas, and I'd like to introduce Chief Deputy of the County Sheriff's Office, Bill Jacobson. Obviously, we have two deputies assigned here to Linwood Township. The other Bill Jacobson, Deputy Bill Jacobson, that most of you know. And I'm not doing this to confuse you, I promise. That wasn't our intention. And then Deputy Megan Sullivan, who is also assigned to Linwood Township, and as luck would have it, she's on a call here right now. So normally we have her planned a couple minutes to introduce herself and talk about her education and training experience and what she finds enjoyable working here in Linwood Township. But she's busy right now. That's why she's here. So I do believe that Chief Deputy Bill Jacobson would like to certainly address the group.
Very good.
Thank you, members of the board. It's good to be here, and I appreciate you taking the opportunity to allow me to speak here this evening. I will say that, believe it or not, Bill Jacobson and I also worked together at our prior department at the Centennial Lakes Police Department, which caused, of course, much confusion, especially at a department size of 16. So it was good to work with him again here at the Sheriff's Office. As the lieutenant mentioned, I am the chief deputy, which means I serve directly under the sheriff and manage the day-to-day operations of the Sheriff's Office. As we move into 2024, we've been going to all of the council and township meetings to introduce ourselves and talk about our goals for 24 and the progress we made in 2023. First and foremost, obviously want to acknowledge what is going to be an emotional day tomorrow as we say goodbye to our brothers in Burnsville Public Safety. And we get the question a lot, how you can support us, and the support we feel from the community here in Anoka County is it's a real thing, and we appreciate it. And what you can do is continue to be who you are here in the township of Linwood and across Anoka County, because we are truly blessed to serve in Anoka County. We are blessed to work with the city of Linwood, and we remind our deputies all the time that you're working in God's country, and we're proud to have this partnership with the township of Linwood. As far as our goals going into 2024, we struggled mightily with recruiting and retention, and I'm sure that's something you probably heard from our staff throughout the year. And I'm happy to say that we've actually taken down our posting for deputy. We are currently not hiring, probably one of the few organizations in Minnesota that are not hiring, and we credit that to a number of things. One thing is, of course, the support of our elected and appointed officials and the city contracts we have, because without your support, we would not be able to do the things we do and serve in the way that we serve. We also have made great strides in our competitive pay. Through last year, we worked hard with the county board to change our pay rates so that we are competitive and we can recruit. And since then, we've hired dozens of deputies to bring us up to nearly full strength. Another thing that helps us is our internal culture, which we are working hard on. And I think if you talk to our deputies, you'll hear good things about the direction we're heading as an organization. And of course, the support of the citizens. Again, when I talk about living and working in Anoka County, we are blessed to have the support of our citizens. And we certainly feel it right now in times of crisis when we are working through as a public safety family, the loss of our brother firefighters and police officers in the city of Burnsville. We feel it more than ever, and just know that that support, it means a lot to us. And so thank you for that. We do have, of course, two deputies that work here in the township of Linwood. Megan is on an emergency call doing the work that you guys pay her to do so well. And it is possible she may join us, but depending on the call, maybe not. But again, it's my hope that both her and Bill are spending time here you're meeting with them and you are working with them and you are building that relationship that matters so much to us and presumably for the township. As we move into 24, one of our big goals, which you may have heard about, is our new jail. We are in the process of working with the city of Anoka and the county board to get our new jail squared away. Our current jail is quite old, in need of repair, and is beyond its useful life. So the sheriff has been inviting all of the city and township board members to come tour the current jail. So your support in that would be important to us. So if you do have interest in checking out the current jail, seeing what the shortcomings are, and seeing what you can do to help support us, please reach out to me or the sheriff, and we'd be happy to get you connected with some of our other local elected officials and see firsthand what our detention deputies are struggling with on a day-to-day basis and how we can help them get their important work done. With that, I'm happy to stand for any questions or any clarifications from the board.
You have questions? Thank you very much for coming out here tonight. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you all. We
you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, streaming video retention policy.
So attorney is just joining us here.
Thanks, fellas. Is he driving?
I hope not.
Thought that was the plan, for him to do it in his car, and it's not safe for him to do that.
He's on mute right now.
Okay.
Mr. Hill, are you in the meeting?
Can you hear me now?
Now we got you, sir.
Perfect.
And we just want to make sure that you're good and safe. I know it was time constraints for you. You're able to listen, discuss.
Yeah, I heard somebody ask if I was driving. I'm not driving.
No.
I'm pulled over. It's all good.
Yeah. Weather turned on us quite quickly here, so.
Yeah, it was a beautiful summer day yesterday. And then all of a sudden I'm looking out at snow this afternoon. So I don't know.
So we're kind of going over this streaming video retention policy. We're looking at that now. What concerns do you have over this policy is I guess what I'm looking for.
Do you have a copy of the red line?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the primary theme, I think, of most of my changes, just that there has to be kind of this fundamental understanding that this is, you are creating public data under the Data Practices Act, and it has to be treated in that fashion. And that's kind of the thrust of most of the changes that I made. I wouldn't say that I have concerns about it. It kind of creates more as far as obligations, as far as data, and potential disclosure of data depending on kind of redacting abilities and things like that. But as long as, because you have a few of the very important things in there to make sure it's very clear that that is not the official record, that the minutes remain as the official record. I did add the sections kind of about closed sessions, and I really kept it fairly generic so that it just refers to the Data Practices Act, because there are different timelines that you have to retain recordings for closed sessions for different types of closed sessions. It's unfortunately the legislature kind of made it like a game of chess, trying to figure out how you're supposed to retain some of these things. So I kept it fairly vague, just kind of generally referring to the requirements of the Data Practices Act, so that you can just kind of fall back on that as the guidance, and that the public would know that that is what is being relied upon. So that's kind of just the main, like I say, the main kind of theme of most of the changes that I made. If anybody has any questions, I'll answer any questions, but otherwise with the red line that I sent, I would be fine recommending that.
Any other questions for the attorney?
No, I appreciate his time and review of it, and
So one quick question. So if we adopt, this retention policy, the way it's redlined, we make the edits and include that. Are there steps that the board has to go through in order to, make sure that we're meeting the requirements from a state statute standpoint? Because you're talking about data retention. Do we have to then, make a motion then to adopt, the retention policy for this data?
Yeah, you would just have a motion to adopt the policy. And then, I guess I would recommend, I would make sure that you have the infrastructure in place before adopting it. That you have the ability, because theoretically, if you adopt it, you're recording the meeting and somebody could contact you tomorrow and say they want a copy of the meeting. There you have time to kind of respond to that. But if somebody, for example, during the meeting mentions something that is private data, that has to be redacted from the video. So that's what I mentioned in my kind of email too, and what I mentioned earlier. Make sure you have that ability. I don't know what kind of software or other stuff the township has. Most townships aren't subject to the Data Practices Act like you guys are. So you just want to make sure if you adopt this policy that tomorrow you're ready to implement it. If you're not, I would kind of hold off, make sure you have the infrastructure in place to handle something like a data request, going forward, and, make sure you have that capability so that you can comply with the policy if somebody makes that request. I guess now that I'm talking about it, I would probably maybe add something to say that the policy is in effect and will be in effect from the date of adoption going forward, so that you don't have anybody asking for stuff going in the past. Just make sure it's kind of indicates that, and you can do that by, you can probably do that by motion too, and you'll have kind of an effective date of when the policy was adopted. So it would be in effect from that time going forward. So that's the only thing I would say as far as you can just adopt. It's like any other policy. You can just kind of adopt it by motion. But I would make sure you have the infrastructure in place to kind of follow through with that policy before you do that. If you already have that, that's great. But that's the one recommendation I would add as far as a timeline.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the attorney? Pam?
I do. You've got a few comments here, Jason, and I think the board should probably make decisions on that. The
Sure.
first one was consider adding special meetings for both the town board and special town meetings. Also consider removing the time-to-time provision. Again, that looks to me like something that the board would need to decide how they want. What are the meetings that will be recorded? And then, let's see, there was also a comment about the video stream may be paused or ended at any time if deemed so by the meeting moderator. Attorney Hill's comment there was I would recommend not selectively deciding which portions of a meeting will be recorded and what won't. Also, who is the moderator? So I think there's still a little bit of work here based on your comments from the policy.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, there are two kind of main themes there. One, I would make it very clear to which meetings it applies to. And I think you have in there that it doesn't apply to work sessions and committee meetings, those types of things, but it just refers to regular meetings and the annual meeting. There are instances where townships will have special town board meetings. There are also instances where townships would have special town meetings. That's kind of like the annual meeting, just at a different time than the second Tuesday in March. So just make it very clear what meetings it applies to. So there's no question in that regard as to what it applies to. And you can really, you could kind of keep it fairly generic and say any town board meeting or any town meeting to include everything. The other theme there is there were those two provisions that kind of have this discretion given to somebody, and it's not identified who the moderator is. I would assume it's the chairperson, but that's not identified. But I think you run the risk there of at least the appearance of the board looking like they're going to cut something off because they don't like what's being said or what the next topic is. They don't want that part to be live streamed. You kind of run that risk when you have that discretion. I think it's kind of an all or nothing, obviously, other than the closed sessions. Those are not live streamed. But I would take out those kind of discretionary pieces. And I think I did in the red line, but I would kind of take out those just for that reason. So those are the kind of the two themes of those comments, is clarifying that it applies to all town board meetings, all town meetings, and then removing those two elements, the time to time piece, and then the moderator being to having the discretion to shut it down. Those are kind of the two themes. That's my recommendation.
Anything else?
Well, I guess as long as we have you, I'm just curious, what do you see out there with communities? What are you seeing? That was early on, that was one of the concerns of some of the board members, or what are the liabilities of doing this, of video streaming or retaining the policy? I'm just curious what you see with the communities that you work with.
Well, I'll tell you, not a lot of townships will live stream to begin with, and you guys are further along than some of the cities that I work with that record and live stream things, and they don't have any kind of policy in place. I think it might be in kind of their general retention policy. Like I indicated, I think you run it, the only real risk in kind of additional obligation that it imposes is, like I said, is you're creating public data and you're subject to the Data Practices Act. So it just creates all of those, kind of obligations that come with that, and stumbling blocks that come up with data practices. I'm working on some issues now with data practices, requests for data, not necessarily video, but requests for data and things like that. And it's not always easy, and it's something that people can stumble over a little too easily sometimes. And it's not, if you're live streaming something and somebody says something or things like that, that doesn't put any additional risk at the town. If somebody's that there's no difference between somebody being in the room and hearing it versus somebody live streaming and hearing it. And you would have the option, like I said, if somebody does say something that raises a trigger during a meeting, that, is this private? Is this private confidential data? Private personnel data. There's some personnel data that's public, but it's only in very specific categories. Does somebody disclose, somebody blurts something out about a criminal investigation, then, it's obviously going to happen on the live stream and in the meeting. You can't stop it. But then you have the option, you can redact that for whatever ends up getting posted on the YouTube page. So it's really just kind of that additional obligation. It's just you're kind of adding that to, it's just kind of the list of potential things that could go wrong, but it's not, there are many other cities, a lot of cities that live stream, and there are a lot that will record and then just kind of post the video on their website. And a lot of times they'll keep it up longer than 30 days. I don't think there's no real hard and fast rule on that. But it's not anything that's out of the ordinary, or that's not being done. And like I say, I think the fact that you're actually putting together a policy, is good. And it makes it very clear, like I said, the making it very clear that it's not the official record, because that comes into play if somebody sues the township, for example, for a land use issue. The land use record is the minutes, the packets, the applications, the materials, all those types of things. If the recording is the official record, then that becomes a part of the record as well. As long as you have it clear in this policy that it's not, then that doesn't become part of the record. Then the minutes are, and whatever the materials that go into that. So that's just, I think you very clearly have that one covered. And like I say, it's just that kind of additional obligation that comes with the Data Practices Act in general.
Thank you.
So Jason, you said something, this is John, you said something that I thought was kind of key, which is, and it's something that you and I had talked about one time, which is right now we have a lot of some townspeople that record these meetings. And they put them out on social media so that others can watch the meetings. And in that case, we have absolutely no control over redacting personal private information. So
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be beneficial for the township to be proactive in having these recordings so that we actually can redact out what's necessary? Because in my opinion, I think most people wouldn't waste their time recording these meetings if we're providing that. Would you agree or disagree with that?
No, that's accurate. If you have, it's like you say, it's well established First Amendment law that somebody can show up and record a meeting. So they might continue doing it, but like you say, if you're offering those recordings and just kind of make, educate folks and say that, there's a reason why some of this stuff might need to be redacted. And this is to protect the residents of the town, and something that might be said that is confidential or not public under the Data Practices Act. You have in there kind of the statement of policy, why this is being done in the interests of transparency and in the interests of, folks who may not be able to attend. And, this is something that is, a lot of jurisdictions, cities and townships are struggling with some of this stuff because people got used to a certain way of business during the pandemic. And we went back to what it was before 2020. And a lot of people are struggling with that and they had access through Zoom and everything else. So I think it does, none of it is legally required, but, you are advancing those interests of transparency and giving people access, and maybe it will, like I say, it legally isn't going to stop anybody, and, they can if they want, but maybe it will, kind of, if people can just go to YouTube and look at it and they don't got to take the time to show up and record it. And, like I indicated in the thing, it's public data. Once it's out there, it's out there. You can't really kind of control it after that, but at least that you will have redacted it if necessary at that point. So, no, yeah, that's another valid reason to adopt this kind of a policy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. We appreciate you for your time tonight.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jason.
no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
All right,
Thank you. Bye.
all right. Comments?
Yeah, I've got lots of them, but I don't know where to start. Um, the frustration that I have is that every time we come back with a policy, we make changes. We think, or we set a direction. We think that at the next meeting, we're gonna come in, we're gonna have this locked down. And it just seems like every meeting, we keep coming back, and I'm trying to figure out how can we move forward with adopting these changes without having to put this off another meeting, because I'm afraid that in the next meeting, there's gonna be some more modifications, and then the next meeting, there's more modifications. And I think we've been at this for somewhere around 9 months. So I'm trying to figure out how can we push the needle forward. It would have been nice to have had a completed document that we can all look at and say, yep, that's what we're doing. But in this case, we just have a lot of red lines in here. So my question is, how can we move forward in adopting something like this if we don't have a final version of the copy? And can we?
I don't think we should. I mean, I'd love to be able to hold this up so everybody out there and everybody in the township could see this document. I don't know, John, how you would, I wouldn't be willing to go forward because it's not all put together.
Well, what changes would there have to be? Because it's a Word doc. If you accept the track changes, his changes come in to make the document be what it is.
And what if who puts this together doesn't get it together right?
It is here. I guess that's the only, so just for clarity, we're looking at a red line version with his recommendations. And you can accept it as is on the document, and that's what's gonna be what the document is. Now, he brought other points that aren't in this, to Supervisor Olson's point, but I'm in agreement that we cannot just keep pushing this down, kicking the can down the road, and then coming back with, well, here's a new roadblock, here's a new roadblock. The attorney made recommendations. I appreciate what he did. I agree with incorporating
I can't hear you, Andy.
his recommendation to include the additional meetings. Because again, he's saying right there that being selective isn't a good plan to have. So to me, we can move forward with something, I feel, and we can set a plan and a direction, because there are other to-dos, but we can't stop not doing this because of a chicken and egg situation where we don't have this to this. This just sets the direction for the next to-do, which is the data retention inside of it. So
Two things. One, we gave it to the attorney for a reason, to look at it, and he's made some comments and changes about what he'd like to see. So there was kind of no point in giving it to him if we're not gonna follow what he said. And second of all, he said we should have everything in order before we move ahead, and we don't. So that's my opinion. I could never vote for this, not this way.
which way would it have to be? Because to that
It
point,
has to be done. It needs to have his comments put in it.
they're there. Are you not?
Well, okay, if you think that that's a document that is done, then I'm.
No, I'm not saying it's done, but I'm just questioning what comments would need to be in there. And to the point of the other to-dos, I don't believe either that we can have everything all at once. Policies can be adapted and changed. We have to have.
So if
software
somebody
to
comes
manage
in
this.
tomorrow, what are we gonna do?
That's what I'm saying, is move forward with this part, which then would set the direction for the other items. Because we can't have, why would we buy all this other stuff and make all these other changes if we're not gonna adopt a policy?
Did I misunderstand Jason? Didn't he say that we need to be ready if we're gonna adopt this?
We can adopt it with a future date, I believe, and set other tasks that have to come out. Why would we adopt a video retention policy if we don't have the video retention policy? We haven't seen the records retention side of it to be able to put that policy together. So I agree, there's other to-dos, but this has to be the top tier
There are
start.
some changes we do need to do, like down here, he's talked about only regular town board meetings. We'd have to put the addition in there, if we agree on it, adding special meetings for the town board and special town meetings. I'm not sure what special town meetings are, whether that's the annual meeting. I think that's what he was referring to. So it could be regular meetings and the annual meeting that we would have to clarify. I mean, I'm just looking at what's out here. So I would see that as something that would have to be added to this. Make it clear. I mean, if you look at his right now, he didn't redline that section there, but he did make a comment on making that happen. But other than that, if this was, all the red lines were gone and everything that's redlined is out of here and everything else is typed in here. I
So-
think.
Right.
And for the other place in here that you talked about that it's done, I think we'd be okay with this. But going back to what Jason said, we have to make sure our retention policy is corrected. And I don't know what that would take. I don't think that'd take much to put a blurb in there that the video recordings will will remain up for 30 days, for at least 30 days. And that can be the end of that. I mean, I think that would stop, that's our retention policy for what we're doing. So that line right there can be added to it. And that should, to me, I think would suffice. So that's just change retention policy for one line. So if this whole thing was typed up, red lines are gone, we're in a black and white copy again. With his suggestions, making that change to the regular town board meetings and annual meeting. Actually, it says the regular town board meetings and the annual meeting shall be live recorded. I don't know what he's meaning by special meetings.
I don't know if that'd be like budget meetings or.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that's what that would include in that. I mean, I guess budget meetings could be included in that. I guess we have to define, we could define ourselves what our special meetings are.
The board can determine that, can't they?
Yes, that's what I was saying. That we could determine what our special meetings are, so what we're gonna record. So I think if that was done and the retention policy is brought back to us with the corrections, we can vote on the retention policy amended, the amended retention policy, we could vote on that. That would be done. And then once that's done, I don't think there's anything that stops us from voting on this.
Yeah, because that third bullet says only regular town board meetings and the annual township meeting shall be live streamed and recorded. From time to time, other meetings as determined by the Linwood Township Board may also be live streamed. So that is at the discretion of the board, but really the only ones that are committed to on the policy is regular town board meetings and the annual meeting.
And I don't see if we would really have to change that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You do. That's his recommendation. Remove
recommendation.
time
That's
to
just a
time. Time
recommendation.
to time is vague.
Mm.
It's what you feel like doing. He's recommending take that out of there. Again, this was originally built with, that it was just the regular town board meetings. The annual meeting got added in here at some point, but do you want to commit to that? That is absolutely, it will be recorded. You still can use your discretion and do that, but in the policy here, that's committing to it. I'm fine. I'm just saying that wasn't in the policy earlier.
I think if we took that from time to time, just put other meetings as determined by the town board.
Mhm.
Just take out from time to time and capitalize the O on other and make it other meetings as determined by the Linwood Town Board, may be live streams recorded. Workshops and committee meetings will not be streamed live recorded.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would red line out from time to time and just start with other. That'd be my suggestion on that. paragraph.
So as far as data retention, it looks like it's covering the policy where it talks about 30 days. So I would guess that if we adopted this policy, we're also adopting that data retention portion of it. So if that's the case, one thought I had is that, you know, I agree with Carol. I struggle with approving a red line copy of something. I'd like to see what it is in its entirety. But one thing that we might be able to do is, you know, move forward with making these edits. Use the attorney's recommendations, make the changes to this document so that it's complete. Doesn't have the red lines in it. We could still make this one of the first agenda items at the next meeting. Well, I guess it could be on any portion of the agenda at the next meeting, because the next meeting is going to be recorded anyhow, as well as the annual meeting, because it has to record as we're live streaming. Is that right? Okay, so it's being recorded anyhow. So if we make a motion and we move forward with accepting this at the next meeting, then it would go into, I mean, we could then make it effective for that meeting. I guess that would be one option.
I like that better.
Okay, any other discussion on that?
If we stream the annual, will people be able to vote somehow like we did it with the Zoom?
No.
I think that's the last thing we'd ever want to do then, is to give people the reason to stay home.
We did it last year, didn't we?
We streamed the last couple years, yes.
In that couple, they can't vote. You have to be present to vote.
It's
Not like
truly-
streaming that meeting.
It's truly just a recording or a stream. That's what it is. It's not interactive like the attorney was tonight. He was interactive. And that was by design and followed other
Because we let him
protocols.
in.
Correct.
Any more discussion? Pam?
Again, I'm going to come back to asking the board not to put a policy in place until everything is ready for it. So, okay, the next meeting gets streamed and it gets recorded and it's put out there. Who is doing the redactions, the ADA? I'm just not aware of the software or the staff that's been charged with doing that. So again, for the attorneys, his exact quote was, put the infrastructure in place before adopting the policy. If the board is confident that you have that infrastructure, go for it. If there's even a question, again, it's staff that's going to be doing it. So what is that piece? I'm just not familiar. If there has to be redactions, what is the software that you guys have for the redactions? It would be nice if we could work with that ahead of time to
And
see.
Yeah, and we will. And I think that's the direction. I would propose then too, that we have everything in place. So we've got this record retentions list that we need to update, because I believe there's other things that are outdated as well.
Correct.
So
Yes.
we could make board direction to get the redlined amendment of the retention list, and we can add septic permits and everything else all in one motion along with the videos. Am I understanding that?
Yes.
So we could do that. That's a task. The software, that's a task. We can purchase that on the internet tomorrow and we can import some training and go. We just have to move forward in a multi-pronged approach instead of just, no, we can't do this because we haven't done or thought about. We have a direction here. And to Supervisor Wilson's point, we can make this document be what it's going to be, so it reads clean. And then that sets the path forward. And it's a policy. We amend policies all the time based on things changing. So again, I think we can move forward.
What's the board want to do?
Based on what the changes that you stated, I'd move forward with making the changes to the document, accepting the document changes that the attorney has made. In addition to the changes you made on the bullet regarding time to time, removing that.
Are Are we going, is this gonna be done in the next 2 weeks and then we're going to pass it at the next board meeting like John talked about?
That is what I would do.
Okay, so we don't need to make a motion tonight.
Pass it, no. To approve it, no.
We just need to agree on the language so that when it comes forward, it's all what everyone wants to see.
Basically, when it comes back next meeting, all the red lines should be gone. It should be a black and white copy. Then we just have to approve the verbiage, and if it's all the way we want it to be, then we approve the policy. Yes, no,
Yes.
want to bring this back in 2 weeks?
I wanna bring it back in 2 weeks. I have to see it done.
I says I'll make a motion that we bring this back in 2 weeks to review the final product.
Can I offer a friendly amendment? Because I think what we also have to do is direct staff then to move forward with putting and implementing the back end of this thing. Because otherwise what's gonna happen is we're gonna come back in 2 weeks, we're gonna accept the policy, and then we're still gonna have to wait for the technology to be put in place. So I would say that I would amend that motion to include directing staff to start working on getting the infrastructure in place as much as possible so that it's ready in 2 weeks.
Do they know what they're supposed, I mean, do they know how? We know who?
Who knows about this stuff, because I don't know about it. I am the wrong person to ask how to do this stuff. I'm telling you right now. I don't know how to make this thing tick. I know what we want to do, but I can make a motor run, but I can't make this work. Anybody got a clue?
I see an owl. What is it gonna take to get this set up?
I can have your red line copy in 10 minutes.
Okay,
I can't do anything else for the next 2 weeks.
okay. But
I
as
am
far as
full
setting
election
up-
mode and full
Yeah,
annual
and that's
meeting
what I-
mode.
and that
So
was-
to
that-
direct staff,
That was gonna be my question. Is there any chance anybody in that office has the time to set up all the infrastructure to make this go?
no, not in 2 weeks.
That's an easy question. Talk
Talk to me after the elections. I know you want this passed and we will get
No,
this thing going.
no, it's not fair to staff.
There just is not
It's not the way
1
that-
minute in staff.
Good.
Again, if the software comes to us and it is ready on March 14th, when I've got all my stuff back to the elections, then I can start working with staff to do that. But I cannot commit to anything else. The elections are my number one job.
Send my motion.
I get, so go ahead and adopt it, but then put the date out a little bit further out for expectations. Like I say, the red line copy, I understand. I believe I understand, and you will actually get red line and clean copy so that you can see that the words you wanted in there got put in there. That is not one bit of a challenge. The challenge is my job.
You don't-
20 hours or an 8-hour day. There is not 20.
Mhm. John, you got your calendar out there.
Yeah, I kind of like what Pam had said is, why can't we make a motion to move forward with this, but give enough time? I mean, we're still going to live stream. We've already got that approved. So why don't we just go ahead and make a motion that will adopt all these red line edits and work on defining and getting the infrastructure in place, whether it's hardware and software, and then say that we'll have it implemented by the 26th. That's a month out.
We still need to know who's gonna do it.
Yeah, who's gonna figure out how to do this redacting and stuff on this?
I mean, if I have to, I'll carve out the time and I'll do it. I think it's kind of silly, but this board live streamed for 3 months because of the pandemic. And in that, or 3 months, 3 years. streamed it for 3 years. And in that 3 years, there was multiple times just in the last year before I sat on this board that I could go out there and find videos that were days old, weeks old, and months old. And nobody ever worried, nobody ever had an issue with it. I realize we're creating a policy now, so we could have said, well, gee, we didn't know anything better. But the fact of the matter is that for 3 years we did this and never had an issue.
And it was a pandemic and we had a lot more leeway than we do now.
State statute,
Leeway. I
state
think
statutes
the
didn't
rules are
change.
Still out there.
Mhm.
It's just that the board didn't worry about them.
The redaction,
Because they
yeah.
were putting something out there for the people. I mean, the same rules were out there a year ago and 2 years ago as it is right now of everything that's out there.
I don't think so, but I'm not gonna argue about it.
So. I'll entertain a motion either way.
I'm gonna throw it out there. People may disagree with me and that's fine. If it gets voted down, that's fine, but I'm gonna make a motion that
There's a motion on the floor.
he rescinded it.
I rescind my motion.
Not hear that.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for catching that in case we were out of order. But I'll make a motion that I've lost the date,
March 26th.
March 26th. Thank you. All right, I'll make a motion that we move forward with video record and playback using the policy as outlined and return to us with the red line copy from the attorney, making those edits and changes, implementing the infrastructure required to meet those policies. And we start video record and playback on March 26th.
Motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all's in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. All right, this is coming to an end. Planning and zoning. Roosters.
Is Tom here? You wanna come up and talk?
Does he have this paper that's in front of us?
What paper?
The one that says the non-domestic animals only by permitted in certain districts, and does he have this and he doesn't? Okay.
All right. Who's,
You wanna give your name and your address, please?
Tom Murphy, 7900-246.
And you have to use a microphone so people at home can hear you.
Tom Murphy, 7900-242nd Avenue.
all right, sir. Carol, who's got planning and zoning?
I have planning and zoning and he has requested to come before the board to talk about roosters.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well, you guys have had this going around for over a year and you haven't done any ordinances on it. So, I mean, other communities all the way around us, they all got ordinances saying no roosters on, small lots. I mean, the smallest lot you can have a rooster is 1.5 acres on all the other ones. And they're nuisance. So, I mean, what's the holdup? I don't get it.
I take it your neighbor has a rooster.
There's like 2 of them out there.
Okay. Anybody else? I have,
Is there ordinance review on this, right? I guess I'm only hearing,
Planning and zoning has never been asked to do anything. It has come before this board on several occasions in the past, and we have chosen not to put an ordinance together or ask planning and zoning to do so.
no, so I was just questioning, because you said we've had it in front of us for a year. I mean,
Well,
this
other
record.
people have brought it up
Okay.
and
I
they've
just
asked
wanted-
for something to be done about it and there's no ordinances. I mean, there's a clause of privacy nuisance where, I mean, I'm at the end of my rope with this thing, man. I'm, my mental and physical well-being is being threatened here because it's just constant. It's a constant crowing. It's ridiculous.
well. What we want to do, what the board wants to do, we can send it to planning and zoning and have them draw up an ordinance for it.
Well,
What's everybody's
you
feelings?
guys keep going back and forth with that. They say
You guys have to approve.
We have to direct them to drop the ordinance for it.
Okay,
So if we tell them to go send it back to them, say we need an ordinance for this, they will draw us up an ordinance. They will put an ordinance together for us. That's, we direct the committee does it, brings it back to us, we approve it, it becomes an ordinance.
okay,
So that's kind of how it works down the line.
all right.
Don't want to cut you off, but I mean, that's
Well,
kind
I
of the way it
didn't know
goes.
how it works, so I
Yeah.
thought they were just passing it back to you and I didn't know that.
Well,
you had to approve it
actually
and
they
then go
did.
back to them.
Actually, they did because they haven't been directed to do it.
Mhm.
So they need direction from us before they can do what to do this. So-
Okay,
And planning and zoning asked if they were going to make an ordinance, do we want them to do something with all non-domestic animals? Or is it just roosters? Roosters are the ones that we get most often. We've had that several times in the last couple of years.
My thought is, I mean, depending upon the acreage. I mean, if you're sitting on a single plot,
yeah, if you look
And
at
that-
other
that's one thing you
communities
have to look
around
at.
us, East Bethel, North Branch, Stacy, they all got really nice ordinances written out. I mean, you could cut and paste some things.
well,
It's all
that's,
clear
I'll
cut and
guarantee
nice.
that's probably what they're gonna look at to see what fits for them.
Right.
So, like, John?
If we're gonna send this to planning and zoning, would we want to also let them know kind of what our thoughts are? Cause I would think that that ordinance would be made up of different components or different criteria. Because one of them might be lot size, which I know they do in the cities. One of them might be, actual distance between the rooster's coop and, an adjacent property owner's home, those kind of things. But would we want to send something like that along with a request, if we're gonna request planning and zoning to work on this? Or are you just gonna give them broad scale, decide what they want?
The other ones just go by acreage.
Yeah.
If they go over 5 acres, they can have a rooster in a lot of them and they can run free as far as I understood if they have over 5 acres.
Andy, you had
I'm-
something? I'm sorry, John.
I was just trying to prevent us asking them, giving them direction to come up with an ordinance and they come back and then I say, well, what about, a distance between the, coop and the adjacent, and then we have to send it back again. I was trying to figure out a way of maybe keeping this down to a.
Are we doing roosters and chickens? Or we just, I mean, usually I think the distance between is not just one rooster.
Yeah, roosters, like you said, have been the complaint. It's been what's been in the cities. I know, I think it's New Brighton that they're allowed up to 6 chickens, no roosters, those kind of things. So I get it. I mean, I got a rooster and it crows but I'm also on a large plot of land. But I know that I've got 2 roosters. I got one to the north and one to the south, and they're at least a quarter of a mile away because I listen to them crow every morning. So, and all day long. But, so I know that that sound carries for a long time. I get it. So, but
Well, and I'm like maybe 80 feet away. So they're loud
yeah,
and it's constant.
We have a noise ordinance, don't we?
nope.
We don't have any noise ordinance in this township.
Yeah, you do, but
We do.
Okay.
the sheriff never enforced it at all.
Sheriff has to be there to
Because
hear
how-
them.
How is it any different than dog barking? Dogs are legal, but a barking dog is not.
Or noise ordinances are really hard, Bob, to have the deputy sheriff do anything about.
Right, they won't do anything about it.
Decibel meter on it, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just, and maybe to build on that more, because I've been at planning and zoning and had these questions come up before too with some of them we don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, how long they've come or where they've come from. Some of them seem like, did we at one time buy a land use ordinance code? Because some of these, you could type these in and you could find them. Same thing, they're in multiple jurisdictions, I guess,
It was
sometimes.
adopted in 2004.
Yeah. So, and I see that, but I'm just wondering if there was any record in 4 where it can't. I don't know what and why you would keep a herd of raccoons in the R1 district. I mean, so that's what I mean. This is boilerplate land use code that we must have gotten some point and does need to be reviewed. So is there a schedule with P and Z, or is it just we direct for just the specific code, or do they look at maybe a section at a time to start refining this overall, because like I said, when I got this one, the noise one, I've dealt with noise and enforced noise and seen others. And this one, you could copy and paste that in and you're gonna hit a lot of jurisdictions that have that exact verbiage. Because it was probably purchased out of a code book, just like we did the P and property maintenance code. So if we want something different, more specific, we'd have to do the research on it, like, you know, to other communities. I don't know how to direct them to be specific because
If we can be specific.
I would, you know,
I guess we'd have them look at, if we're gonna do this by acreage.
that's what I would see is more by districts.
I was gonna say, it's kind of hard if you do by acreage, because I think you had said at the P and Z meeting that they had the coop right against the property line. Now they've got it 20 feet back or something, so
10 feet.
10 feet back. So, you know, I'm not sure that, I mean, if they put it right in the middle of their property, yeah, you could probably, you know, acreage would probably make a lot of sense.
They
but-
don't have acreage.
He's on a lot.
He's
He's
on a
on a
lot.
lot. It would be like me having a rooster. Well, yeah, well,
Big smile, Carol. Sorry, I gotta get serious. It's hard. But yeah, but obviously we let them come up with something that township wise, not East Bethel wise, because you know, being a city, the cities do handle things differently than townships. I kind of like living in the country. I kind of want to stay there, but I'm like you. I don't like. We used to have roosters at home, and so there has to be something that they can come up with. They can at least draw from.
Well, the problem is most people go to work and they don't hear it for 8, 10 hours a day. But I like being outside and I'm retired. So when I'm out there, I hear them constantly and it's just aggravating. It's very aggravating.
I really think that they should look at the whole non-domestic animal
Mhm.
policy and especially roosters. How's that?
Okay, make that a motion.
I'll make that a motion. That planning and zoning, look at the non-domestic animal policy that we have or code that we have and bring us back something.
Bring that policy back to us.
I'll
Or an
second,
ordinance.
I'll second that.
Then moved and seconded discussion.
So let's say that they come back and they come up with an ordinance and we approve it. This is the new guy question. So is this rooster that's next to Mr. Murphy's place, is that grandfathered in? So it's not actually fixing his issue?
No,
Or is it enforceable?
it's enforceable. I believe.
Okay.
He's only had it for about a year and actually I think he did it just because he did have barking dogs too. And you know, I said, hey, can you keep your dog quiet? And you know, he got all belligerent and started swearing at me, so I started swearing back at him. Well, then, you know, 2 weeks later he had a rooster. So, you know.
Right, any other, Pam?
You know, yeah, I think the choice to do all the non-domestics, but I think another area they need to look at is dogs. That's another area that we hear issues with. How many dogs can you have on small lots? How many dogs can you have?
Right now.
Again, this has been going on for several years that maybe on the small lots, you're only allowed 2 dogs, but you can have 3 dogs on bigger lots without a kennel license. I mean, some of it just doesn't make sense.
That'll have to be made another motion. That'll have to come up later because you have a motion on the floor and seconded. Right now.
It was just a comment.
Okay.
It was,
Okay, on the motion. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I'd call the sheriff 3 times a day.
Well,
That's what I would do. You know, I have a neighbor who got extremely upset at my dogs. I had the sheriff at my house 10 times.
township sheriff is named. Well, I went over, I drive around my property and I pick up junk because people do throw on vacant lots and stuff, you know, so I go around once, twice a year and I pick up the junk. Well, I was going to pick up and I got a picture of it. I'm gonna show you guys. And,
You gotta make this
I was
quick.
I was just gonna put it out on the street for the trash to pick up. And, he got all, I mean, the neighbors came out and they got all pissed off and said I couldn't do that and
All right, sir, we gotta get going here, so.
he's got a 75-foot lot. And his fence line is up there. And he might be 5 or 6 feet on the other side. But this is what I was gonna pick up and throw on the street to throw. They called the cops on me. And had Jacobson came out and just read me the riot act, said I had to get it surveyed before I could pick anything up. And the other ones were saying it's their property and, I mean,
All right,
it's just a nightmare over there sometimes.
right now we're gonna try to deal with your chicken. All right. Resignation, Mr.
Um,
Salson.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Tom Salson's resignation from planning and zoning.
I'll second it.
Then moved and seconded, discussion.
Just to thank Mr. Salson, how many years did he have on?
He's got many. a lot of years
He's
on
got I don't know how many.
Yeah, but
He's been
no,
there forever.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Parks.
Parks had a great meeting last night. We were talking about dog parks. And then we had a guest at our meeting and he had a lot of interesting things to say about fundraising by hockey teams and help from FLA and help from this and help from that. So, we have put dog park on the back burner. Because this guy, I mean, he could have been a car salesman and we would have bought any car he sold because he was just super huge on fundraising to help out buying hockey rinks and hockey boards and oh my God, the guy was awesome. So just let the board know, the dog park is on the back burner.
So we're not gonna go ahead with the,
Grant,
grant.
I'm almost to it.
Okay.
So the dog park is off the drawing board right now. We had one of our members who's an electrician chase down prices for lights across the street. The first quote we got was $100,000 for lights across the street. He got us a quote of 55,000. So that was a very encouraging sign. No poles. Well, the first one wasn't poles either. But after he looked at the poles, he said, well, your poles need to be replaced too. So I mean, we're still at $100,000 to do lights across the street, but that's on our radar. But 2 weeks ago, this board talked about grant writers. Is it the board's preference to use grant writers? Because I love the park committee. They can do everything. They can do everything you ask them to do, but they're not grant writers. I'm not being insulting to the park board. They're not grant writers. And I know this group talked about hiring a grant writer. So the park board would like to put in for this DNR outdoor grant and with town board approval, use a grant writer.
Is this for fence or is this for poles?
This is for lighting and this is for a hockey rink.
How much is the grant for?
Up to 300,000. But they're not gonna ask for 300,000 because it's a matching grant. So which is another thing that this board has to decide. If they go for $100,000, it's not fair for this board to go, we don't have 50 grand to give you. I mean, this board has to be on their side where, okay, if they're gonna put in for 150,000, we have to come up with 75,000 for parks. So before we even think about getting a grant writer, is this board, or does this board want more information on the projects we're doing to say, sure, hire a grant writer, you want 150,000? Sure, you get it, then we'll deal with the 75 the township has to come up with. So our problem with matching grants. It's a beautiful thing to get a grant, but they are expensive.
Maybe a lot of money though.
You're right. It
would
save you a ton of money. But then the grant writer, I just went online last night, put grant writer for hire, and it just spit out 1,000 of them. But
I think we have a list too.
do we?
Most of them aren't doing it anymore.
Okay, we used to have an employee. Didn't that employee write grants for the township she worked in?
She wrote one grant.
Because I was just gonna call her and get some information from her. Because, I mean, I don't know, what does the board think? I mean, is it, because again, fire department has a phenomenal asset in their grant writer. But we asked her and she just has too much on her plate, so park board has to find their own. But again, it's up to this board to say, yep, you can use a grant writer, and then is it the park board's job to find their own grant writer? Is it the town board to direct staff, find an adequate grant writer? Because I think we've all discussed numerous times, there's a fire department grant writer, there's a parks grant writer. They don't, I mean, people specialize in things.
That's right.
And what grant writers charge? I mean, do they charge 1%? So if you're going for $300,000, they charge 1%. I don't know how grant writers work, so. So I don't know. So I don't know if the board has to direct staff or first, is the board on for using grant writers? That's the big thing.
Well, I'm for it.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay,
I mean, should we get one to Annie?
Mhm.
Go.
I'm for it. I don't know about the matching part. I guess what I'm worried about is, and Bob, you've talked about this 1,000 times, and that's our 2024 budget.
I agree.
And then if we go over in our 2024 budget, we're going to be in trouble in 25. We're already in trouble in 25.
Probably.
We don't even know what we have for 25. I really wish we were having this conversation after the annual meeting, so we knew what.
Well, we kind of talked about that too, because the group also talked about our hiring of a worker. And I said, let's not even talk about that until the annual meeting, because the people in the annual meeting could cut us 300,000. Well, then
Actually, that was my next.
We're on
topic,
that
But I
creek
don't
without
have
a
to bring it
paddle.
up if you're bringing it up, because
so
I'd
Well,
really
here's my
like to
question for
wait.
you. When do you, what's the deadline on applying for that grant?
April,
So we could actually wait until
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Now we could,
Until we have the
I
annual,
mean,
then we kind of know
yeah,
what
well, you
we're
don't,
playing with.
nobody has time to do anything.
No,
before
I
2
agree,
weeks
but-
Anyway,
Could, and again, staff's swamped for 2 weeks, so
yeah, they are.
I'm gonna ask.
Yeah, so.
Okay, but I appreciate the board if the board is on for grant writing or hiring a grant writer.
Everybody's approving that, everybody's on board with that.
Okay. Dan's got a question.
That's your.
Just a comment, again, that we have resources to, I'm in communication with other city administrators, city clerks, that type of thing. So to find out from them, who did they use? Who did they successfully use for that type of a grant? Or I think that's the avenue I would go, is find out. Because as you said, there's different ones that specialize.
Yep.
The advantage of the grant writers also is that their income is writing grants, so they know of different grants out there that we may not be aware of, that don't come across here. So again, that, I think it'll snowball to where if you can find someone that you can work with, they will actually help find money. Because again, if they find money
That's
for
their
us,
job.
they get paid.
Yeah, you're right.
So, and you're right, there's many different ways. Some of them are a percentage, some of them are an upfront fee plus a percentage of it. So it's a matter of working through those agreements and.
And I think it's gonna be the future of the township, because again, I brought up the road issue we're having, that roads go up 20% and we're only raising our budget 8%. Well, pretty soon, we're done doing anything with roads. So I think, I'm not saying we're gonna hire a grant writer someday, but it could be in the future that somebody does it for the Linwood Township, so. Fire truck, we just had a fire apparatus meeting, and we were all afraid to ask what the price is. At least I was.
All right, anything else for Park?
Anything you think, Carrie?
And I'm not gonna advertise until after the annual meeting, okay?
Yeah, do that, and then do you already have it on the board for advertising for a park committee
Yes.
member? Thank you very much for doing that.
Do you want it down?
Nope, absolutely not.
I did
No.
not put it on the website.
Okay, do you want to?
I don't.
You don't want to? Okay.
I want to wait till after
Nope.
the annual meeting.
Usually no. That's the committee member. that
Yeah,
we
I just
have.
want a committee member.
Oh.
That should be posted both
Well, I don't
places.
have, I wasn't asked to do that.
Okay, but I'm almost in the process of doing that. You have it on the board, don't you, for a committee member? Thought I seen it last night.
Yes, we do.
Okay, awesome.
But I believe we also have the park attendant position on there.
So maybe that's what I
So I
seen
need to
last
know
night.
if that should be removed.
Well, the park attendant, I think that could be removed until after the annual meeting.
Okay,
Because again, we don't know what's gonna happen at the annual meeting.
we were just instructed to
I
get
agree.
it
Yep,
advertised
yep,
in
you are- you're
February.
right.
Is
So
there
we
any
did.
problem though in just leaving it posted?
Probably
Doesn't
not.
mean we have to hire it.
No, you're
We can
probably right.
collect resumes and collect information and then it,
Right, and
Future
have we
date.
got like 1,000 people putting in for it?
No, but it just went on the sign not too long
Oh, did
ago
it?
and it went out in the posting boxes a week ago. So
No, then we could leave it on. Doesn't
yeah,
hurt.
I think that's great. Is it posted anywhere else? Is it on the website?
No,
I
it's
looked
not
for
on
it the
the
other
website.
day. Okay.
I wanted to have a conversation about the position. And if you're willing to wait till after the
Annual meeting?
annual meeting, fine, but otherwise we're gonna have a conversation about having a park attendant at all.
Okay,
Because I have serious concern about what are they going to do? What would they do what are they gonna do all summer if it's like it was last year? What are they gonna do right now if we had one? They can't work in recycling because recycling doesn't have any money to pay them. You can't pay I don't believe you can pay somebody out of parks to work in recycling. And it doesn't work that way. And what are they gonna do? I mean, I wanted you to think about, could we hire somebody to cut, a company to cut grass? Or can we do something else? Can we get creative? But can we really afford to have
you want a price?
a 20-hour a week?
So before we do that, do you want me to get a price for in 2 weeks from now to cut the grass in the township? I'll call 3 companies right now and get a price to cut the grass in the township. If you want,
I think it'd be a good idea to have the information.
okay?
I think it'd be valuable.
So,
And
so
it's
I'm,
not all the parks.
so I'm gonna ask you the other side of the spectrum. If we hire somebody to cut the grass, are you laying off a maintenance guy? Just asking the other side of the spectrum.
I was just gonna say, I mean, the maintenance supervisor can decide or could help us decide what parks is maintenance gonna do along with their other duties. What can they handle? I mean, back in the day, they handled all the parks. And I know I wear a quarter for that. It's worth it.
You do? We're up to 50 cents. I had to pay one last week. You owe one too.
So the
Um,
park board is open to looking at all different options. I think the reality though is this position was intended to do more than just cutting the grass. There's a long laundry list of things from the last several years that we haven't been able to get done. And so that's what I would like the board to keep in mind as they're considering this. Certainly budget is a factor. I totally understand that. And at the same time, I feel we have an obligation to maintain our parks. And in some cases, we haven't been able to do that.
Well, I'd like us to consider, I mean, maybe we need to know more from you about what is it you want them to do? And maybe John needs to figure out how many hours maintenance to work in the parks.
Mhm.
He said he has all kinds of schedules
Okay,
for different times of the year.
sure.
So,
And I'm
because
happy to
if we
discuss that. Did you need
otherwise-
more than we documented in that job description? Because we really were detailed in that.
Okay.
So,
I just have forgotten.
okay.
I think the biggest question is the spring and fall. I think that's the gap that we kind of need to figure out. You know, because when we first talked about it, the comment was if they had extra time, they'd go to
Mhm.
recycling. And since that's not an option, it's like, okay, so then what's the other part of the plan? And I think that would help answer those concerns.
And I think the vision was with this person only working part-time, the whole summer, they would be consumed with mowing.
Mhm.
And then the spring and the fall would be all of the other maintenance activities that we need done in our parks.
In talking to Public Works, they didn't seem to think that there would be an issue with them taking care of Four Seasons and Broadbent.
Okay,
So if you did go out for contracts, and I have all of the square footage of every park that we have in the township, you would need that to go out to bids. But then then you can get a more accurate bid as to what it would cost to do the other part. Cause if you are, I mean, whether it's a contract or whether it's one person is, I mean, we were working what, 3 guys or 3 days a week, 2 guys. You know, so not one part-time person is gonna be able to pick up all the slack. So I think if Public Works can take these two, they're very large. It takes a lot of the square footage down of what needs to get mowed, so a contract may be cheaper. Or it may actually give your guy or woman enough time to actually do the other park, so. I'll get you the square footage, Bob, if you wanna just get those numbers, and then I'll try to remember CC you also. So do you have that data? Square footage of your parks?
I do not.
No.
Oh, not at my fingertips.
No, not
I don't know where it would be.
fingertips,
Do you have it?
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember getting something that outlines the history of all the parks? I mean, there's a sheet for every single park. It tells,
Is that the pamphlet we were playing with last night?
no,
There's a
it's,
pamphlet with a map, but I don't recall ever having a
No.
packet of
Yep.
information.
I'll get you one.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question, Park, if we're going in a different direction now, another question Parks had is we have how many parks that are just,
4 undeveloped
we have
parks.
4 undeveloped parks that we do nothing with. What if we wanted to sell them? Can't?
Mm.
You both shook your head at the same time.
Well, we'd have to look at each one, but I think
See
the
if it
ones
was- if
we've
it was-
looked at,
if
if
it
it
was
was
dedicated.
dedicated forever.
Okay,
And I wouldn't say they're not used, because I do know of people that, up East Fun.
yeah,
one that
Paradise
ties
Point.
into there.
Yep.
That one, it's a walking trail, but it's natural. It-
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
and
weren't even
down in
talking-
Bird
That was just a thought.
too.
Yeah,
The people around there use it natural.
absolutely. Some of them are. There's just one that's landlocked and we were just wondering
And
what
there's
the
an easement to
value
that.
was that.
Someone came
Okay.
to me and said it's landlocked. It's like truly, but there is an easement.
Okay.
One at Tamarack Lake.
There's an easement to that?
There was an agreement.
I thought we gave up the easement.
Well, it's our park that's landlocked, so we have an easement to get to it.
No, I don't know. I believe that Sandy told
We'll
me we
check
do
on it.
not have an
Yeah.
easement anymore,
Okay.
that the board gave the easement away to the landowner.
That's a bad idea.
But I don't know if that's true.
Maybe we'll look into that. Find some information on that. I know that's one park in the township that people hunt. Guarantee it. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Carrie. Okay, thanks. No, sorry, might have blabbed a little bit, but thanks for your information.
Fire department. Chief?
Thank you, Chairman Parker, supervisors, staff. Just looking for some approvals tonight. As Chief Deputy Jacobson and Lieutenant Nelson said, the fallen firefighters, so, and the 2 police officers in Burnsville, we're looking for the approval to use Rescue 5 and Utility 1 to go to Eden Prairie to attend the service tomorrow.
Make a motion to allow the fire department to use any apparatus to go to the service February 27th.
Seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, board. The other one, Dustin Madsen, he is a candidate that we've been interviewing. We're gonna table it, but we're looking for direction of the board. We've hired 5 firefighters in 2024. We're just looking to see if possibly hiring 1 more in 2024, pending his EMT certification. So again, a little backdrop on this candidate. He does have his firefighter 1, firefighter 2. It is a little dated. We can work on that, but he is currently going through his EMT and his company is paying for that. So just looking for the direction of the board, it would be okay to possibly hire this individual sometime in 2024.
What is your retirement schedule this year? Anybody going? You know of?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
The one thing Chief was telling me is that they actually have 2 brand new sets of bunker gear that'll fit him. So they don't have to purchase bunker gear for him.
Got a gear?
Firefighting gear, the big yellow coats and pants. So they don't have to purchase those items because they already had, he'll actually fit something that they bought before the firefighter retired. So that's,
Will he fit into your budget? For, staff?
Yes, yes.
It's gonna be tight.
It will be tight. But again, until he's fully trained, he's only getting half the per diem or the pay. So
Will he be full-time in 24, do you believe, or do you think he'll go to 25 before he's full-time?
it'll probably be
Wait.
25 when he actually gets everything completed.
So do we have, any regulations on how many they can hire a year? Does anybody know?
Not a year, just how many they can have.
that's just something
In
they can
general.
have.
So if you hire one more, how many you got?
That would bring us to 32,
Okay, and then what's the rule, what's the limit, 35?
35.
Okay,
The other thing is, this guy would be a daytime firefighter. He'd be a daytime responder, which they're always short of.
So we just did budgeting. If you don't mind, Alyssa, I'd like to ask you, so we went through the fire department stuff in detail and you had a figure that you had come up with for, labor. If their bunker gear and everything is in there, is your number still going to cover that for 25?
For the 25, I mean, there was a lot that was purchased last year for bunker gear, so I mean, if they're fit into it. But as far as the bunker gear, that's hit or miss, I guess. I don't know if I have somebody that needs to be specialized or not. That's not something you know until they get measured, so.
Okay. And did you factor the labor of 32
we
firefighters?
will be close.
Okay, so we'll be okay with the 160?
Because moving forward, so you're thinking actually 2025 budget.
Right, that's what I was asking.
So, yep, we did the $7,500 is what we moved it up to because we had to anticipate. We took the average from the last 2 years, so we did bump that up roughly 500 and some hours.
Okay, good, then we're covered in 25. Thank you.
So
I knew you'd have those numbers right there.
I don't know why.
make a motion for the fire department to move ahead with the 6th firefighter. Is that the Dustin Matson?
Correct.
With Dustin Matson hiring?
Second.
moved and seconded, discussion. The thing you have to remember too is that, if everything works right, yes, they can hire him. If it doesn't, he may not even get hired. So it all depends how things work out, but
That's the question. So it's just to work it against the budget number. It would then come back in the normal process.
correct.
Oh.
All right, any more discussion? Hearing none. John?
Do we have to say in the motion that it's pending background check and those kind of things or not?
I would probably put in the motion. Again, it's
Pending background check. I just speak really slow.
I get,
Pending background check and physical.
And physical and everything else Daryl wants. I just talk slow.
Okay, and I'll second that over.
Okay. Got all that down, Pam? All right,
I'm done talking now.
any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
the last thing is we've got some hose that's expired. A lot of that hose we got donated from Plymouth Fire. It didn't pass the hose testing. So we're looking to either bring it to the recycle or sell it. I believe there's 12 rolls of 2-inch. And I think we're gonna keep the 1 3/4 just for training and the 1-inch, would also go to recycle. So I'm not sure if there's a want in the community for something that big. But in the event, we would like to get rid of it.
What do we have in the warming shack? Is that the 2-inch? Do you guys know?
2 inch, probably 1.5 inches.
1.5 or so? Okay, so we can't use it back there.
Most of it's donated, it can just go to recycle then, correct? Pardon?
Offer it back to the public first. It's the same thing that happened with the SCBA's,
Yeah, but this stuff is donated.
Doesn't matter. The township took possession of it.
township property.
So do you want to bring it over here?
Not specific.
In your office?
Yeah.
Okay, so how about we let them put it back in the recycle area for storage and then, you can put it up for sale. That sound reasonable?
Yes.
Okay, that need to be made into a motion? Make a motion, they bring their surplus hose over and store it back in the back, and it will be put up for sale to the public.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? I don't know what to charge for it, Pam. Don't ask that question because I have no idea.
Well, I'm
Alyssa, they can't hear you.
not sure. I'm not sure if it's surplus or it's expired.
It's expired.
It's expired and failed the hose testing. So
But have you seen the amazing crafts you can make with?
I
my
was gonna
God.
bring that up. It is amazing. All the beer can holders and oh my gosh. So Alyssa's gonna start making that for the townships. That's what she just said. That's all I
We
heard.
can get a list of like how many feet and what size.
yes,
That'll make it easier. We don't have to go
Right.
measure it.
yes, I can do that
Thank
for
you.
you.
Maybe the senior center can use them, making crafts.
Talk into your microphone, please.
All right. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Continue, chief.
Thank you, board. The DNR burning, again, that's gonna be kind of fluid with the constant changing of the weather. So as I get the information, I'll share with the staff and our current fire wardens. Yesterday, we did have a restriction. Today, I don't believe we did. So as it becomes available, I will share that with the fire department and the staff. The firefighters, assistance to firefighter grant was submitted. So now we just sit and wait to see if we get the grant for the extrication kit, and that's gonna be about $90,000. So. Last but not least, the truck committee would like to thank the board for meeting with them tonight to go over engine 2 for the replacement and taking out your time. That's pretty much all I have for tonight. Any questions?
Any question for the chief? Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, chief.
All right,
Supervisor
Chair.
Parker?
get their hand up.
I just,
You gotta raise
this
that
wasn't a
sucker higher.
question, this wasn't a question for Daryl, but for the board. I'm just on the vote for using the apparatus to attend the services. Supervisor Ledke, did you vote on that?
Yes. There,
You're not attending?
I'm not attending.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to be clear
Oh, no, I'm.
who was going, okay,
Okay,
that's
thank
all.
you. All right, letter of support for broadband partnership between Anoka County and Midco. There's a letter in your packet. Basically states the Linwood Township Board of Supervisors is in support of the broadband partnership RFP being submitted by Mid-County Communications to expand broadband access to more residents in Linwood. These areas of our community have demonstrated the need for upgraded broadband services. There are currently limited options that do not provide the speed and reliability required for current uses. Midco's proposal to deploy fiber broadband infrastructure to this area will be beneficial to the citizens, businesses, and institutions. Basically, they're asking for us to lend their support. Do we lend their support to this? Pam?
So, I was contacted by a Midco representative and, that is what they're looking for. Just for your information, there would be 42 passings, hookups on Sunrise Road, 25 on Hornsby, 27 or 15 on 207th, 27 of them on 245th Avenue. I also asked them to look at the area up Fontana, because I know that's an area that struggles to get connection. And they said they would look at it. They are looking at, this would probably be projects completed in 25 and 26. But they need, the RFPs are due to the county for March 27th. So they're looking to offer a bid or a quote to the county. They're just looking for, would Linwood Township support them working in the township? So that's what that letter is in reference to.
So, board's pleasure. Want me to sign this or not?
This is just support, this is just
Showing our support.
showing our support, sure.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and authorize the chairperson to sign this document showing our support to move forward with this RFP.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board of Audit.
I can start and then you take the rest.
Sure.
Okay. So in your electronic meeting packet, you have what the state suggests that you do for Board of Audit. And then without putting a quarter in the jar, typically we don't follow all of this. But if you head halfway down where it says Board of Audit meeting has arrived, what they ask to do is that you pull some receipts and then you follow that receipt through from receipt to bank state to deposit to bank statement, that type of thing, and then do the same thing for disbursements. What I would encourage the board members to do is occasionally or monthly or however often you'd like to make arrangements with Alyssa or I to do audits throughout the year. Which again, we used to have that in place and COVID hit and it kind of went sideways, but otherwise, Supervisor Searing was very good at coming in almost monthly and just doing just exactly that, just randomly pull a receipt or a disbursement, and see it followed through. And then I think Alyssa, you can take it from here.
So to make it a little easier on our sheets here, sorry. Throughout the Board of Audit, the clerk and treasurer need to match, so I have it highlighted that our
In your
statement of
packet.
receipts
In your
and
paper
disbursements.
sheets.
Yes, paper, this is all paper. That the clerk and treasurer's books match. That number then carries down to the year-end report from the clerk. So that's where that number is coming from. The cash register, the petty cash register is in the drawer throughout the whole year. What happens if somebody comes in and copies 25 cents, they don't want a receipt? This is the receipt for that. So that is our cash that's on hand at the township in our drawer. So that's just stating where we get that number from. This is the year-end statement that the year-end for the bank and then also on the year-end for the bank balance on the clerk's report. And then we move down to we need to lessen the outstanding checks and receipts. That ends up getting us our CTOS balance because when we have stuff hanging out there, it's obviously not reflected at the bank. So that's how we have to reflect it within the report. And then at the end, we also have our investments within there. So this is the scheduled investments at the end of the year, stating that it matches the clerk's records for the end of 2023. And then our books match the ending balance of the clerk's report for the year end of 2023.
So there is a ledger size sheet. That's the Board of Audit. What you're auditing is saying that you understand or you've seen, at least seen the clerk's books. All supervisors should sign that and that gets posted right before the annual meeting. It has to be posted a half hour before the annual meeting. 4 days before the annual meeting, the treasurer is to turn to the clerk a copy of her books, which she has already done. So we have that. We did not print out all of the disbursements. One disbursement ledger is 250 some pages. So we don't have them printed. We have them electronically. We have to keep copies of it. Nobody said we had to print them. Obviously, they're available for you to request if you would like to look at them. Otherwise, like I say, I encourage you to come in throughout the year and just see the checks and balances we have in place. You know, the last person to touch the money is not the first person to see the bank statement, and the checks go through board approval. So Supervisor Parker can, then the clerk signs them, then the treasurer signs them, she sends them out. And we both have electronic access to the bank statement. So again, if there was anybody trying to change a bank statement, they're available electronically. And so that's what you're seeing every month when you see that, is that reconciliation that our books do match the bank statement. But like I say, you can audit throughout the year. This is the formal process for the board to accept the clerk's year-end report. And then that is what goes to the annual meeting. that the people can see that.
We need to vote on that to accept it.
Yes,
Make
yes.
a motion, we accept the 2023 Board of Audit.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. We have January 2024 Fire Department payroll, direct deposits 20976 to 21004. The EFTs 21005 to 21006 in the amount of $12,945.49. There a motion to pay?
Make that motion.
There a second? There a
I'll
second?
second it.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries.
Abstain.
Consent agenda.
Got it in stem. And
We went abstained. Consent agenda. Your motion to accept the,
Yeah, I'll make a
to approve
motion.
the
to-
consent agenda.
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Upcoming meetings, we have a special meeting scheduled for Thursday, February 29th at 6 o'clock. We have a couple members that will not be here, so I think we are going to cancel that meeting and reschedule it for a different time. When everybody can be here. So we'll have to figure out when everybody's gonna be back here again and reschedule that meeting, get it done.
You're gonna reschedule it right now?
We can, so let's come up with a date when everybody's gonna be here. I have no problem with that.
Of course, we have to check with the attorney on it too.
Yep, then I guess we should wait to make sure the attorney is gonna be, well, we can
Why
set
don't
a
we
date, see if the
suggest-
attorney's
Why don't
available.
we suggest something?
Yeah, that's scheduled for.
Be Thursday in March?
Any Thursday in March. Everybody else good with Thursdays?
Thursdays is tough. How about
Oh, he has problem with Thursdays, except
Oh, you got a problem with Wednesdays?
I have a problem with the sixth. Other than the sixth, I'm pretty well. I'm pretty well
You have
open.
issues with every Wednesday, don't you, Andy?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
But why don't we give the attorney couple different dates?
You have trouble with Mondays?
Okay, let's do Wednesday then, whatever Wednesday Andy and Mike can do.
Well, I can,
Come up with two of them, so the attorney maybe is good with one.
well, like I said, the sixth, I've got the fire department.
Okay.
So we could
So
do
the
the
13th?
13th, the 20th.
I could do the 27th.
You got some going the 13th and 20th?
Yeah,
Put it on the 27th.
What about Mondays?
Mondays I could do.
Thought the attorney had other obligations Mondays and Tuesdays.
Okay.
Okay, well, then let's look at the 27th. Okay, let's try the 20, okay, let's set it for the 27th. Is
Why don't
everybody
we
good with
do-
that?
Give them two dates, like the 13th and the 27th.
Is it who else?
I can't do the 13th.
Can you do the 20th?
I'd have to check with other
Oh,
resources.
shut that ship
Why,
bell off.
shut it down. Really trying not to
I
make
keep
it noisy.
hearing a ship
Do-
bell over here.
Yeah, do the 20th and 27th is the preference.
So I'm good on the 28th, on that Thursday. So we can do either the 27th and 28th.
I can't the 28th.
So you good for the 20th and 27th?
Yeah.
All right, let's give him the dates of the March 20th or 27th, see which one he's available on, and the clerk will let us know.
Okay.
We good with that?
Yep.
All right, so that's done. Supervisor, treasurer, and clerk comments. Supervisors, Andy?
No.
Bob?
Nope.
Carol?
No,
John?
No.
I got something. Today we met with the Anoka County attorney. And by Yiminy, we're getting fine money back. I think
we're getting what back?
we're getting fine money back in from tickets from the sheriff's office.
Mm-hmm.
Mac, I think we got what, a couple $1,000 here last month or whatever, $1,000,
No.
$100.
He thought maybe it would be that much.
How much?
$133.32.
back, which he's worked on this pretty hard and he's looked at it. And I guess by the sounds of it, when they hired another law firm. And when they're filling out this paperwork, there's a little checky box in there that you gotta check to send the money back to us, and he made sure that box is checked. So this should start coming in, regularly. So everyone said, well, monthly, I guess, I don't know how it's gonna come in. I've asked that the treasurer let us know when this money comes in, when she has her little speech time, that she can tell us this money's here, so we know what's happening. And the other cool thing that I found out is that he gets money in a fund that he gets from the fines. And if we come up with a program for like domestic abuse or some kind of drug prevention or domestic violence, and we want to put on a seminar, something like that, they will give us funds to hold these. If we wish to have a tent at Linwood Family Fun Day where they can set up there, they will help sponsor this and fund this to come in and do these things. So this is something we need to look at and take full advantage of it. He's kind of excited about us doing this. So he said, if you come up with something in a program or something that you want, they will send people out. They will get the sheriff's office to come out and talk. You know, we've got that scam stuff going on now, senior scam stuff going on. That's things they can come out and talk about. So I'm gonna try to get a hold of Sarah and talk to Sarah about it and see if she can come up with some ideas that we can do. And then like I said, we can go to him and he's got this fund in there that's what that money's for. And he seemed kind of excited about helping us out and doing this stuff. So I think he kind of likes Linwood because he wanted to, I mean, he kind of talked to Fawn about us here, so. But it went really well today, but people have asked for years why we aren't getting money back from the ticket sale, right? Well, now we're finally starting to get some money back, so. And he's gonna keep a close eye on it. He's gonna have his attorneys keep an eye on it, make sure that money comes in, but he wants to make sure that we keep track. So if it quits, we need to call him and he would check and see why it's not happening anymore. So it was a good meeting. We were meeting for about an hour or so today, and it was actually turned to be a really good meeting, so. Treasurer first, then we get the clerk.
I did prepare a end of the year 2023, as far as looking at how we came out on our budgets. We ended up being $306,663 over budget for 2023. In the general fund, we did really tackle a lot more enforcement. So that's kind of where some of that came from. Within the building department, we did go over on what we budgeted, because we didn't know that them fees were gonna be raised. So obviously we take in more, we spend more. That's kind of where that's coming from. Fire department, we got Q4 payroll that from 2022 that was in there, which now that we're monthly, we should eliminate any of that large sum of carryover. And then,
Does that include our deposits?
No.
so, no,
So that money isn't included in there.
So that 306,663, that's how we went over on our budgeted numbers.
correct,
That doesn't have anything to do with the money the DNR gave us for 205, which
correct,
was $300,000.
Yep.
So none of our grants were included in that.
Exactly.
Well, wait.
correct. So because we don't,
Exactly.
we can't budget.
When you look at it back.
Absolutely.
So we're 300 some thousand over, but we didn't include all the grant money and stuff we got added into
Exactly.
that.
Because we can't budget for grants when we don't know we're gonna get them.
Well, that's true.
So we
but I'm
can't
saying-
budget to spend the money. So yes, correct. If the 306, if that makes you feel more at ease,
It makes us feel.
100%, yes.
It makes me feel a lot more at ease to know that money
Does-
wasn't included in there.
Anoka County recycling grants not in there. Some of the extra grants the fire department got are not in there. The grant for 205th is not budgeted in there, so that's a pretty decent number.
So as far as budgeting numbers, we didn't have a very good year, but if you add the overall number on the bottom, I think it would change everybody's, how good of a year.
We weren't
we
a
had.
whole lot, we didn't have a bad year.
Yes.
If you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So that's where we're at there. And then I did have a current one where I'm at year to date. For the annual meeting, I do need some information from you. So on a request for funds, the authorization to spend up to $25,000, is that what we're gonna ask the same amount for Linwood Family Fun Days?
You mean for community events?
The 25, correct, yep.
Yeah,
Because
community
last year
events.
was approved 25,000, correct?
Yes, yep. So I just want to make sure that I'm presenting the correct information, that we're sticking with the 25,000.
5,000, and then we'll figure out how much we want to give senior center or Sarah extra.
I think
Yeah, we already
That was already
did.
made a motion, so,
So how much is Sarah getting? 2,000?
it's like 3,000
Yeah, it's
something out of
3,000.
there.
3,000.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was,
We
we
voted
had,
For
on that
operating
last time.
supplies, it was,
I think it was 3.
yeah, so
Yeah, it was
for
like
operating
33.
supplies, it was lifted to 2,500. And then there was meals, food and beverages that wasn't touched, so it's like 3,000 some dollars.
So you get 21,000 and some change for family funding.
which we only had one meeting and they were wondering what that breakdown structure was too. I would shoot for it to end at fund day with 23. Possible,
So
because we.
Well,
had-
here's the deal. We don't even know what we have yet.
Yeah.
Till we go to that annual meeting, we don't know what they're gonna give us.
but if I don't
But
ask
you-
for it, we can't get it.
Correct.
Oh, you're
So
right. You're right.
if you want more for Linwood Family Fund Days, I need
That's
to
why I would-
present more money. So if Andy's requesting 23 and
That's
Sarah, so you're probably looking at requesting an extra $2,000. So 2,700 for Linwood Family Fund Days, because if you want 26 and some change.
Yeah. And it's in the hands of the people. It's a
Correct.
starting point of a little bit of cost increase of what things were at. If they want to keep it at the same scale. Well,
I'm fine with,
You go 25?
I'm fine with 25, or I'm fine with 26 and some change. I mean, it's ultimately gonna be left up to the people sitting out there in 2 weeks to make that decision anyway.
Okay.
But that's, I would,
Carol, what number are you looking at? Go with
Whatever
25?
the people want to give us.
Well, but like I said, we have to, we have to give them an amount to start with. So,
25.
and you go start with
Yeah,
25?
Yeah, I'm 25.
All right, 2,500 it is.
Okay.
25,000.
25,000.
It was last year.
So then I also need to know what dollar amount that you would like to ask for recognition of service for retirees, volunteers, or special service efforts.
What did we do past years?
$1,000.
$1,000? I'd say the same. We don't have anybody retiring in 25, so as far as across the street.
yep, I'm good with that.
I'm good with it.
So then
Okay.
I also need to know, how much you would like me to ask for health and social services, and recreational services. That's normally Alexander House. Typically, we ask for 1,000, but I've looked back at what we spent and it's,
But it all had to do with the services they provide for us.
Correct.
and
Correct.
they request money from us.
Yeah, but they had to do something for us.
Yeah, last year was 1,000.
But this year in our budget, our 25 budget.
Cause we used to give, remember the olden days, we'd give like 5, 5, 5 and 1,000, but then we did,
Yeah.
but then we couldn't do that because they had to provide services.
I understand they provide a lot of domestic abuse
Okay.
services to Linwood.
Look at that. You just answered my question.
And that doesn't have Excel in it.
Sheriff's report. I'm kind of surprised that there's as many domestic incidents in Linwood as there is.
It's a tough world everywhere.
I know.
I think it's bad here. Go to the city. Are we chasing something?
Yeah, we're logging into a different.
Well, these would be whatever numbers were in the budget. Well, this was actually budgeted for 26,000.
But then, yeah.
Why they're digging for something. Why is there something in my head that I was gonna ask something about parks and I totally forgot? Something just came into my head and I thought, but now I forgot it again.
Ship's belt.
Bill did it again.
Is it under
No.
community celebrations?
I think I forgot something.
No, it would be.
They're looking, road postings went on yesterday, by the way.
Pardon?
Road postings went on yesterday.
Budgeted
Oh,
for
good.
it, Because they came back from.
That's why I want to update.
$143,
The
$100.
road postings where we limit gross vehicle weight on the roads.
Requesting from us,
Yeah,
yeah.
our
It should be on the
So
website,
$231 was.
but I
Hey,
don't
ladies,
know them,
where
so
are
you'll
we?
have to tell it
We
to
would need
us.
to ask
Okay.
for
Put that on my list.
$250.
Still hanging around over here.
So we budgeted $250 in that line item just because last year they asked for $143. 2020, I seen that they had asked for $231. And then 2021, they didn't ask, we didn't get anything in there. So
So we asked, what did we get to, $250 this time?
that's what we have budgeted.
Okay, so we're asking for 250 for that then. Everybody else good with that? All right, we're good with $250.
The CD was renewed.
How'd you do for rate?
So I asked if I could get the 4.65 at 11 months, and he says, yes, I will do that for the township. Although I cannot guarantee that I will be able to offer this rate in the future. So I think we're getting to the tipping point on that one, but they did give us the 4.65% at the 11 months. So.
Perfect.
And then, yes, we did receive a January payment for 2024 fines and fees for $133.32.
More than we had the day before.
That is true.
All right, anything else? Pam?
While we're still talking about the annual meeting, after last year's annual meeting, I had people asking me why we don't have the sheriff's office there. And, fire department, we used to have representatives from recycling, park, senior center. So, while it's not entirely up to the board to decide what goes on the annual meeting agenda, I guess I kind of want your take on it.
Parks would like to speak. That's what I remembered. Parks would like to speak at the annual meeting.
I guess we could get the sheriff to be there. It'd be nice for him to be able to speak his piece a little bit. It'd be nice to have, I mean, we used to have the sheriff there and he'd come up and give a spiel. So if we can get the sheriff there to come up and give a little speech to the township and how we're doing and what's going on, it'd probably be a nice thing to have happen.
We had the county commissioner put it in his calendar at the LGO, but he could probably use a reminder.
Oh, I didn't, okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
I don't think we ever really had the fire department up there speaking. I don't remember when we had the fire department speak.
Yes, we have, yeah. We haven't in the last couple of years, but yeah, we would do a slide and then, wasn't there? I think. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
But it hasn't been since I came on, so it's been that long back.
I think
I
we
thought it
could,
was all part of the, like, Road and Bridge has to do a summary or something.
We have to do a road
We didn't-
report.
We didn't do that. We just quit doing that.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I
Okay.
did it
The road
last year.
report, yeah, the road report is in there. That's a legality. We have to do that, but,
I meant all the other committees.
I just think you've got some great things going on with recycling.
yeah, I think it should be.
It'd be
it's
nice
the
for
mean,
somebody
highlight
to
the
talk
township.
about
Whether, and it, excuse me, but it also used to be like the supervisor that was the liaison to, if a staff member didn't talk, then it was like the supervisor that was the liaison to that department would share something with the people, not a real long thing, but if we can coordinate that, because I know this is working on the slide presentation for the meeting, so if we can,
And everybody
we'll
has
put
to say
something
they're
in there and,
all there.
yeah. And so once the agenda's done, it will go up on the website, so take a look at it and see if you're scheduled to talk. I'll send it out to you, so you guys know if, again, whether you have somebody from the committee do it, or if it's,
Yeah, if you just do Parks representative, either Carrie or Sarah or myself will do it, whatever one
okay.
shows up.
And
Oh, and, uh, going way back here in the meeting, were we going to advertise, so with, Tom Sausen resigning from planning and zoning, that either we have one alternate that I believe might be interested in moving up and taking that position. Do we want to advertise for,
We haven't talked to
Alternate?
Rory yet, and they didn't bring it up at the meeting, so we'll talk about it next meeting. But we have to talk to Rory. I thought that was part of my job. But I haven't done it yet.
I mean, it's nice to offer to the alternate that's been there. If the alternate doesn't want it, then offer it outside. I mean, that's
Right.
the way I'd see it happening, but
He's our second alternate, so the first alternate got chosen
Mhm.
just a month ago or so. And now I'll talk to Rory and then, if he chooses to do it, we'll look for another alternate.
I just need to know if we need to advertise.
I think all that, I'd probably hold off
Probably
on that
do,
until
but
after
not right
the,
this moment.
I'd
I'll
hold
let
off
you
till after
know.
the election.
What did you say?
Yeah, hold off till after the election when things calm down and you can figure what's going on over there.
Hey,
A follow-up on, there was some conversation about Martin Lake Road at the budget meeting. What I got back from the engineer was, I don't know, did you talk to him? He was gone, so he just got back today. So I did get a response this afternoon. He says that, so the question was about, is it cheaper to do a 9-10 or a 9-ton or a 7-ton road? His response, if a LRIP grant was received, the road would need to meet MDOT state aid standards, which is 10-ton.
10 to,
Yep, given how many years ago the road was constructed, it was likely designed as a 9-ton road. And our current road standards for all roads is 9-ton. That's what the township roads are. With Linwood's good subsoils, there isn't much difference between a 9-ton versus a 10-ton design. The 10-ton may have a little more gravel. However, in the case of Martin Lake Road, the gravel will already be there by reclaiming the existing pavement and with the existing gravel. In summary, on Martin Lake Road, there's really no difference in cost between a 9-ton and a 10-ton since the gravel will already be there. I didn't know that was
Yeah.
the difference, that it's actually your base.
Yeah.
But
okay.
so that one, and they already talked about grant writers because you wanted to make sure that we followed up on some of the stuff. And I have not talked to Craig yet about estimated costs for surveying the cemetery, but that's another one that he'd be able to help us with. So, let's see, on parks, back around there.
evidently, person to do it.
No, I'm just asking, what would it cost for platting it out?
I don't
Let's
know
see.
how we're gonna plan it.
Oh, I know. Let's see, on the park attendant job description, it got passed, but it was never, decided what department it belongs to or who they would report to. So that's just something to think about as we move closer. If we're gonna hire, we want to make sure who is going to be the supervisor over that. Is it Public Works? Is it Parks? Who is the supervisor that would be answered?
Mhm.
That was our thought. Would be the park supervisor. Park liaison, whatever.
Okay.
That would be you.
Yep.
And then, again, when we get to that point, just be thinking about who will be doing the interviews. Who do we send apps to? Joe Dolphy, the chairperson of Planning and Zoning, and I met with, someone who is working with Anoka County Regional Economic Development and trying to figure out where that committee, remember, we had a 3-year or 5-year agreement with them and that came due. So the county extended it for 1 more year to try to figure out where does that department go. And one of the things that we talked about was, how could they help us? How could Anoka RED, how could they help us? And what came out of that was to talk about, to have them help us set up business zoning districts, which I know planning and zoning has off again, on again, talked about different business zoning districts to try to get our ordinances in place and then also designate which properties would be potential for business districts and get those plans in place. And again, they have resources there to be able to help planning and zoning work towards that. And then also, they asked that planning and zoning would actually reach out to the Met Council with their principal planner too, to see not just that we're in line with the Met Council and their plans, but they also have other resources that we could use when talking about zoning for business. Because again, circling back to at our budget meeting, how do we generate more revenue? And again, increasing a business tax base would also help with that. So one of the other things that we talked about, a way that they could help us would be communication with the public. So rather than just, which you can't legally just rezone someone's property, there's all kinds of formalities that go in it, but educate the public and let them know, what does that mean if we're considering rezoning your property to commercial? It doesn't change your taxes until the use changes. You can stay residential, you can stay ag, but once that use changes to commercial, then that would kick in. So again, I think that's kind of a fear of some people, and just being able to work with the residents when we're talking about their property. Have public meetings, looking for public input. And like I say, I think there's a real good resource there. One of the questions was, if they increase their rates, would the township still be willing? And I think we pay $256 a year, or maybe it's up to around $300, but it's very minimal because it's based on our population. But I do think it's a resource. I believe, did someone? Yes, I think Greg came and talked to planning and zoning a few months back about what ACRED does over there and how they can help. So again, just looking for what are our resources and how can we bring those resources in? And as Supervisor Chairman Parker mentioned too, it was a really good conversation with the county attorney today, and even just finding out what the sheriff's office is doing, trying to work with us. And I just think we're building some really good relationships with certain departments over at the county. So that, I believe, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Can I just
Thanks, Pam.
say one thing? I think though, before that goes forward, I think the board should sit and discuss what it is they want planning and zoning to do as far as commercial, because there's been questions about, if we line the township, most of the areas have been on the edge. Does that mean we're gonna get, that property is gonna get, what's the word I want? Annexed or what? I think the board should give planning and zoning a little bit of direction. They've been struggling for a long time to come up with business districts.
We don't have that much blank property out there right now to actually look at business district, but we got some left that we can still do it with, so.
Right. Anyway, that's all I want to say.
Listen.
I looked at what was budgeted for Linwood Family Fun Days. $22,701 is budgeted for the Linwood Family Fun Days, and $3,300 is budgeted for Sarah's events. So do you want me to up it to $26,000 to ask them for, or do we wait to see what they do and cut it from there?
What do you want to do?
It's just leave it where it's at. We'll have the discussion. It's
We
the
already went through the
people.
whole budget cycle,
Yeah.
and that's what we came up with, so I'd stick with it.
26.
There we are.
An awful lot of
You guys
work.
decided at 25.
That's
Tonight
what
you
we just said,
decided 25, but in budgeting you decided 26.
25 with people vote.
I'm at 25 because that's what we spent 3 meetings coming up with, was 25 grand for.
26.
$26,001.
That's what we.
25, that's what we have budgeted for 2025.
Oh, I apologize. I stand
That's
corrected.
where I'm looking.
Yes, so
All right.
I would go with what is in the budget. I mean, that's what,
Remembered what we budgeted.
that's what we just, I
I
mean,
found it.
you went through a lot of work to come up with those numbers, and I would
Okay.
stick with them.
So it's 26.
26,000.
$1.
$1.
Can I ask you the dollar?
All right, anything else come before the board? Hearing nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to
One
adjourn.
second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:06.